All right, in this episode, Lachlan Giles is going to be calling in to talk about his upcoming match with Marcelo Garcia. An incredible match. Can't believe it's happening. We're stoked for it. He's also going to talk some more about who's number 130, going to help us break it down. Who's number 130 going down October 24th. But I just want to say that this show is presented by IM8, the all-in-one formula for fighters, built for performance, trusted for recovery. Use code FLOWSPORTS for 10% off and visit im8health.com/FlowSports to get yours today. That's code FLOWSPORTS, all caps, for 10% off at im8health.com/FlowSports. Now let's get into the episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the FloGrappling Show, a.k.a. the worst show on the internet. As always, we got Joey Gilps right there, Big Uncle Reed right there, and then calling in all the way from Australia is Lachlan Giles. Everybody give it up for Lachlan.
Yeah, Lachlan.
Hey.
What's going on, Lachlan? What time is it over there right now?
7 a.m. Yeah, so
bright and early. Are you normally up at this time, or did you wake up early just for us?
To be honest, I'm normally up. Usually the kids are up around this time anyway, but so they'll probably be up soon, and they may come in and interrupt for a moment.
Make their podcast debut.
Yeah.
It's usually a very slow wake up, like I wake up and takes me about 15, 20 minutes to actually get out of bed. So
for sure.
Here we are.
Yeah. Everyone has their own approach to waking up. I myself am a guy who likes to wait until the last possible minute for myself to wake up. And then I get ready in like 3 minutes and I'm just out the door, still kind of half asleep, driving into like some meeting or something with Reed that I'm probably late to. But that's my morning routine. I've thought about making one of those cool viral morning routine things, but I don't know if it would catch on. But you've had a lot of cool stuff be announced recently. Your match with Marcelo's announced, and so we want to talk to you about that on the show. And then later, hopefully, we get into some who's number 130 and kind of get your thoughts on the overall who's number 130 8-man bracket we're doing. Kind of the first time we're doing a big bracket like this, absolute bracket, and some super fights as well. But I want to start it off talking about you and Marcelo. So this was obviously announced, obviously a huge match. Like when I heard Marcelo was kind of back in the mix and he had his first one match and everything back, it kind of made me wonder, like where are they going to go with Marcelo? Like who are they going to get? I didn't expect Lachlan Giles to come out of the woodworks as well for the Marcelo match. So maybe you could talk to us some about how this match kind of came to be, how they were talking to you and everything, how that happened.
Yeah, I think it came just before CJI. I started speaking to Tom DeBlas. He was asking me if I'd be interested in the match. As far as I'm aware, it's a match Marcelo asked for, actually. So, that's as far as I know there. Then I sort of said yes, and then here we are. It's finally signed and announced, so we're ready to go. Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, were you stoked whenever they hit you up about that, a match with Marcelo?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's like the bet, a chance to have a match against the greatest of all time, I think is it's incredible. So
certainly, and I think definitely the fans were into it and everything. It seemed like a lot of people were sharing it and commenting, just getting stoked about it, us included. It was kind of like a crazy, like, whoa, like we're seeing arguably the greatest ever going up against Lachlan now, like a super game dude. So I mean, yeah, it is an incredible thing.
Were you kind of training, Lachlan? I'm not sure where you are in your kind of your best days. Are you retired? Not? Are you flirting with that at all? We haven't seen you in a minute, so I was just wondering, like, were you ready to take this call? Have you been training? What's kind of been like the lead up to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always training, just not like I was, when I'm preparing for a tournament. So, I've been retired like the last 3 years. Probably the main difference. Well, there's a couple of things that are a bit different in the way I'm training. Obviously, I'm sort of, like what I use in competition is, I would say, is a small percentage of overall jiu-jitsu. So I sort of try to, as a coach as well, I try to learn and teach as much as I can. So that means often like moving away from my best stuff and exploring other areas. Obviously, the intensity of my training, like it's just, I keep it to just the enjoyable amount, which is just showing up and, do as many rolls as I feel like makes me happy, and, not pushing myself too hard. I'm not trying to get ready for a tournament. and so on. So like I was still training, but now with the focus on a match, it sort of made me go back to like, what am I best at, and how do I get better at that, and as sharp with that area as possible, and obviously building my fitness up as well. Probably one of the reasons I think with retirement was like trying to do, like, it's hard to do a training camp to get fit without getting injured, especially getting ready for something like ADCC against these young folks. So that was kind of one of the reasons I did retire, and why I was even hesitant to take any. I mean, I wouldn't take any other match except for this one, to be honest, just because it's such a cool match that I decided, I'll come back for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just find it's like, as you get older, it's hard for your body to handle those sort of training loads. So but I'm now doing. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
That's right. I'm now just doing a bit more. Like, I'm trying to focus on getting my cardio through some like fitness sessions on the assault bike and some horrible things like that I hope I never have to do again after this match. And that way I can sort of focus on training without trying to overload myself on the actual training room.
So this did kind of come out of left field a little bit for you then. It doesn't sound like this is something that you were thinking about, and it kind of came out of left field. Did you watch Marcelo's last match on one? Were you thinking about maybe potentially having a match down the line with Marcelo or anything?
Yeah, I watched that match. I always, I did sort of read comments online that people thought that would be an interesting matchup with myself and Marcelo. So I'd sort of seen that, and I thought, that would be interesting. But I wasn't even sure then whether it would be something I would want to come out of retirement for or not. But so I'm just trying to fix this camera if it can. But yeah, it wasn't until I kind of, once I actually got the offer, I was like, okay, I got to make a decision whether I actually want to come out of retirement or not. And here we are, just for one match.
Yeah. One match for now. There's one thing. If you watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, you realize retirement's kind of come and go.
It's fluid.
Yeah, in the jiu-jitsu world. But I know you obviously teach a lot of jiu-jitsu. Like, obviously you have an academy and everything. You have Submeta, which I think is probably my favorite instructional platform. I watch a lot of Submeta. I've been watching the new course, passing single leg X and X guard. So I know the details now. I'm yet to apply them. I'm still working on that second part, but Submeta, obviously a great resource. You teach a lot of jiu-jitsu, and now you're going to be going up against Marcelo, a guy who honestly, like, a lot of the modern nogi game kind of stems from, Is that like an interesting dynamic for you, where I'm sure you're hip to everything going on in the grappling world, but now you kind of get to throw it back and start game planning with a little bit of like the root where a lot of this technique kind of stemmed from?
Yeah, I would have spent a good probably 7 or 8 years trying to just be some version of Marcelo's game. I used to, I was on MG in action, watching his instructionals, watching rolling footage, and just trying to emulate as much of his game as possible. So I'd say I have a pretty good understanding of like what to expect from him. He's always been pretty innovative though. Even like it's actually, I find it quite funny looking online, and people are like, oh, it's old school fundamental jiu-jitsu against new school jiu-jitsu. Some people are sort of pitting it like that. And I just remember when I was working single leg X and X guard, like watching Marcelo's stuff, this was like the newest thing possible. This was considered new school. You get to single X and people would just fall over because they had no idea what the position is. It's so different now. Obviously, it's kind of become ingrained in the game, and all those positions that Marcelo plays are just like sort of form the backbone of what people, what everyone's doing now in the modern game. So yeah, that's very interesting. Like, I think there is an interesting dynamic there, like how much, because his style and like broadly has become so pervasive, like, does that help me a lot in being, like, am I getting exposed to dealing with people playing those sort of, like grip fights and butterfly guard, shoulder crunch, all these things I think are like so common now. Do I have an advantage there in that I've been exposed to those things so much, whereas perhaps someone back in the day competing against Marcelo might not have been exposed to it. I think that's an interesting question. But I mean, I fully expect that Marcelo is, hasn't just been sitting around. He's still rolling and he's training with good people. So I have no doubt he's whatever he's doing is adapted to the modern style as well. And I expect, I'm preparing for it to be the best version of Marcelo. That's how I'm approaching it.
For sure. How crazy would it be if Marcelo came out and was like throwing out like Woj locks and like R guard,
buggy choke, goes for a buggy choke off the rip.
I've been searching. There's a clip of him using saddle and like a lateral knee bar finish from saddle. So I think he's played around with some of the leg locks and so on. I'm not sure. It's very hard. I mean, I don't know how much that is like a part of his game, whether he would want to be playing that style against me or whether his style will be more just like, avoid the legs and come on top. It would be, Definitely. Who knows? He's very innovative, like every time you watch Marcelo compete, he'd bring out something new. The north-south choke go and work on it. Suddenly he's there, hitting it at ADCC. So.
Yeah. What do you think about the north-south choke? We had on Marcelo before his first comeback match, and he said he still thinks that's one of the most kind of like underused, underappreciated submissions in the game. I guess, first, what do you think about the north-south choke? And then second, do you kind of have something that you think is maybe one of the more underused, underappreciated submissions or techniques in jiu-jitsu?
Okay. North-south, yeah. It's it is, I would definitely say it's less used. Marcelo seems to be highly effective at getting the finish with it, whereas you don't see too many other grapplers who can seem to hit it with as much consistency. I think he just spent so long doing it and developing it that it's probably one of those moves that requires a lot of time invested to get the finish.
Marcelo told us that he thinks it's a higher percentage move than a rear naked choke.
That's what I'm glad. It's good hearing that. So,
I mean, if he gets to north south, I think he's going to look for it just to let you know.
So if he passes, I should turn my back. That's okay. In terms of what moves do I have that are underutilized? I got a new footlock I do that no one else does, but I think it's pretty good. So,
what's that about?
Yeah, I've put a few little clips up on it online. It's very similar to it's actually kind of similar to a Mikey lock, but slightly different. So I'll just name it after myself instead. That sounds reasonable, right?
There you go. Yeah, that's the way.
The leg Lachlan.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, the leg Lachlan. That's good. You never trained with Marcelo over the years, Lachlan?
I have. Actually, it's I think it's no longer on his website, but I had 2 rolls with him that were up in the gi on which would have been in like 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, let's hope I've improved since then. No, that was back before Gi Worlds. We had 2 rolls, so it was interesting. I've got copies of them, so I was sort of just looking at that. I think my game is so. I was watching it like I had no idea, even despite being a black belt, like my understanding of distance management and guard retention and all the different guard. Like I just see myself as a totally different grappler to what happened then. So I hope I've improved quite a lot since that. But
what about
Marcelo? Is and watching that, it's like he's very crafty. Like even now, like just watching, I was like, oh, I still have to watch out for those things he's doing. I think I would be approaching it quite differently now, but some of the things he was doing, like getting in on his ability to get in on a tight waist, and sort of force the half guard position is he does it quite different to how a lot of other people do. So.
Can you talk a little bit, Lachlan? You were kind of like a generation behind Marcelo a little bit, but still somewhat a contemporary. Can you kind of talk about what it was like being a competitor, watching Marcelo, and what that was like for people who are maybe a little bit newer to jiu-jitsu, what that was like and kind of what he meant and how dominant he was, what that was like?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Marcelo moment too? I was going to ask.
That'd be a great, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite moment I think he was fighting. So I was at the Worlds, and yeah, I mean, how good was Marcelo? Marcelo was like, I was competing, and there'd be guys that would beat me, and there'd be someone that would beat that guy, and then Marcelo would beat them. So it was just like an insane level to me at the. Well, it still is an insane level. I remember him watching at the Worlds final, and he had a little white pillow that he was asleep on, and then he was like lying next to the mat, just lying down, eyes closed, and they sort of tapped him like, all right, you're ready for the final. He gets up off his pillow, walks out, match starts, and he just like, I think he sort of this might have been against Lucas Leach, just like pulled straight away from standing into a butterfly sweep. And then I can't actually remember how that match played. I know he won. I can't remember what happened from there, but I just remember I just found it so interesting how calm he was, or at least maybe that was something he was doing to calm himself, like sort of sleeping almost before the match, or lying down on a pillow, different to the sort of high energy warm ups that you see a lot of people doing, which is obviously what is generally recommended. But yeah, just how he could go from just calm to suddenly just like out there, and his timing was insane. So yeah, that's he kind of like had his ADCC moments before I was really competing in, able to see him live anyway, because I wasn't at those ADCCs that he won. He actually almost always would go against an Australian, because it was always like he was ranked number one, and whoever won the Australia Oceania trials would usually get pitted against the top seed, because we were sort of the lowest ranking trials. So you had a few Australians.
So this is a long-standing
two of my
rivalry.
coaches, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta go in there for get revenge for Dave Hart.
So Dave Hart, yeah. So two of my coaches, Dave Hart was one of my coaches. George Soteropoulos, both went over there, and yeah.
And now it's finally come full circle. Lachlan's ready to avenge.
The student now.
We've been waiting 20 years for this, Lachlan.
Yeah, it's like whenever you're kind of mat side in these majors, like big tournaments and stuff, there's a wide range of like warm up I guess situations you see different athletes and stuff go through. A lot of guys, like I think one of the best examples is like the Atos guys and like the Ruatolos. They slap each other so hard right before the match. Like they'll get Andre to like come in and just smack their back, smack them up like on the side of the head and stuff. And I'm like, dang, dude, Andre's about to knock out Cade Ruatolo before he has to fight Mika Galvao in the final. Like this can't be good. And there is like this crazy juxtaposition whenever you do see a dude who is like sleeping mat side and just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess, all right, I'll go do the best jiu-jitsu you've ever seen now real quick, So that's a pretty cool story here. And Marcelo just sleeping there, brought his pillow from the hotel or something. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, kind of less about the Marcelo match specifically, more just about kind of general jiu-jitsu stuff, because I do know you're pretty hip to kind of everything going on, put out a lot of stuff teaching jiu-jitsu, all of that. I'm curious, what you think about the current jiu-jitsu and specifically nogi meta. Like, is there a specific kind of meta that you see kind of playing out on some of the highest stages right now?
I think from guard, it seems to be actually just like a more advanced version of what I was sort of like attempting to do during ADCC 2019. It seems like I do think like slightly less. You see slightly less butterfly guards, apart from just for like false. People seem to be doing like butterfly to false reap, but it seems like the K guard players are still the one. Like the people who are still pulling guard at that level seem to be like your Lucas Canards, your Mikey, your Levi's, like the people who want to pull guard seem to be looking a lot of the time for outside lead position. But then you've got on the passing front, I think like, something like what Dorian was doing, and just like as a general strategy is kind of pass to the outside or under, and then like kind of like just keep repeating that, and then as you know, until your opponent starts like trying to pull you in, and then if they pull you in, if they start like overextending to pull you in, then you sort of come into half guard. But otherwise, you just sort of stay sort of unattached, and lots of movement left and right. I feel like that's like generally a strategy that we're seeing more, and it's probably become more common. But yeah, the good thing about jiu-jitsu is you can make, if you become an expert in one area, and it's, as long as it's like fundamentally sound, the thing you're doing, you can make that work. I've seen some really good guys beat some very good grapplers, like with like underhook half guard and some of these things that people don't really see as the current meta. But if you get really good at it, you can make it work at a high level. If you're high level too.
Whenever you're watching matches and you're just watching jiu-jitsu, maybe even just as a fan or just to check out new techniques and everything, do you kind of like it more whenever you see a guy kind of play some of the hits, throw back some kind of like classic fundamental type of stuff on a high level, or do you kind of like seeing like the new cutting edge, like maybe something you haven't seen before or anything like that? Which side do you kind of end up enjoying more, I guess, whenever you're watching?
I like seeing people, I like seeing people solve problems. So, like if there's a common issue, like I think like what Declan's doing against that sort of, people calling it the lasso now, the high pummel, bringing that leg over the top, and the way Declan's kind of sprawling into it, chest in, and scooping the leg up towards north-south, like that's an interesting solution to a very common problem, which is that high leg or the high pummel. So I kind of like looking at that. Whether I don't really mind if it's like by going back to a fundamental position or some sort of new evolution to it. That's usually what I'm sort of looking for. I don't watch matches as much to be entertained as much as I'm usually trying to study a particular person or area.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anyone in particular you've been studying or watching a lot lately? I know you mentioned Declan. I feel like Declan is one of my current favorite guys to watch, particularly just passing, like you said, kind of the way he does all that outside passing. But I went to fix my game with him, and he absolutely beat me up. Declan's really good at jiu-jitsu, really technical, like could speak about it like way better than I expected and stuff. Like it's a great episode, honestly. He breaks down all this stuff he's doing, but he's also just a beast of a dude. And so he beat me up. But
he's been good too. I was sort of like, because we had our like CJI trials here, and I've been studying Declan's north-south passing since then, because we've got some like pretty good K-guard, outside guard players at our gym that were actually in that tournament, and Declan like quite quickly got through their guard. So we've been studying that to improve our guard retention as well as our passing. So, and I believe he's now got an instructional out on Fanatics. So just a plug for Declan. He's great. Sure. So you should check out that. So, Declan, he's been good to study. A lot of the time I'll study the little guys. Hey, Walter.
You gotta
Walt.
You want to come say hello?
Why are you calling someone?
I'm just saying hello.
Hey.
Why?
What's going on?
What's up, Walter?
Give a wave.
What's your favorite jiu-jitsu move, Walter?
What's your favorite jiu-jitsu move? Double leg. Yeah, he said double leg.
Nice.
Yeah. Good wrestler.
All right. Do you want to go over to Mama?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to go on this call. Okay.
Why?
I'll be doing it for the next half hour, and then I'll be with you. Okay.
Hey,
Need to pee. Okay.
He's already.
Give me 1 sec.
Yeah.
I'll just get his mum, and
sure.
and then I'll be back.
Cool.
1 sec.
Can we trust this kid? His dad's Lachlan Giles, and his favorite move's a double leg.
I'm going to bring that up to him. Is this kid rebelling already?
Yeah, what's going on here?
This kid needs to invert underneath and break legs.
Yeah,
what
I
are we
mean,
talking
come on. All right, we're back with
Yeah,
Lachlan.
all good. Yeah.
You want to ask him, Joe?
I'm going to ask. I got to ask. Lachlan, Your son's favorite move is a double leg. Is he already rebelling against you? I hear that kids rebel against their parents, but he's a he's a wrestler and a top player, is what I'm finding out here.
I don't think he even knows what guard is at this stage. So yeah, it's a problem.
Teaching him right.
We're gonna see your son wrestle for like Penn State or something.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like, I don't know. Are we sure this is Lachlan's kid?
Yeah, he doesn't even know what guard is. We gotta set him up on submeta.io. We gotta get him going.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. The CGI qualifier you guys did was cool too. We wanted to kind of ask you about that and everything. Was that fun? Kind of running a qualifier like that, getting ready for a tournament and trying to build a squad for CJI.
Yeah, it was an interesting process. Like, I'd rather not have to run a tournament ever again. But I think it actually ran quite smoothly. It was I enjoyed it, and it was good. It was like a really good atmosphere. We had like the pit wall, a 3/4 pit wall essentially, with like one corner open so that people could sit down as a crowd and watch. So that was really good. There was probably the most stacked Australian event or card ever. Like I think the chance to get to compete in such an awesome event like CGI, like just brought out all the best guys in Australia, or majority anyway. There were a couple of names that we would have loved to see, but yeah.
Those videos you guys did in between the trials and stuff were hilarious as well. Those were great. But I am here to say that we're big Kit Dale fans here, and we're here to say that Kit Dale got done dirty at those trials. We wanted to see Kit Dale.
Had to go through a whole dang tournament.
Yeah, he whoever was going to do well, it was obviously we had 2 spots to fill, and I knew that for the rule set, the most like it didn't really, for the most part, it's not like how good are you at edging out a decision. It's like, can you submit someone? That's a massive bonus, and can you be not submitted as well? Like how good's your defense? Those are the 2 main things. And you can't really, if you put any if you had like just a tournament where like winner moves on, then it's either submission only, which could last forever, which I think is kind of not feasible, or the other way I thought was we need to do a round robin then, like everyone needs to fight everyone so that you get an idea you just tally up who got the most submissions and subtract. If they got submitted, you subtract that, who gets the most sort of like points in that way. And you can't do a round robin with too many people. I think we had 6 in the end, which was enough. Like they all fought, the 6 people, they all fought each other. So I chose 5 people, and I said that last spot, you guys are gonna have to fight to get into that last spot. So there was then a tournament to get that 6th spot, and then they had to go in the round robin. Yeah, it was a brutal day for that person, which happened to be Kit Dale. But
yeah,
I think he
couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yeah, but I think he. Despite not getting into CGI, I think it was amazing for Kit. He got to show how good he is. Got to create a few highlights, and that's brought him back into the competition stage again. So yeah,
that was kind of like the spark for him coming back on and going on Who's Number One. He ended up getting a win over Shanji on Who's Number One from that. Pretty much. So I don't know. Has Kit said thank you or anything to you yet?
He hasn't. No, he's
We'll clip this out. We'll send him
so
that.
Good. Kit's so good. I think he's. I've talked about this a lot. I think Craig has as well. Kit's a very underrated grappler. People sort of always saw him as the comedian, but his actual grappling ability is always very, very, very high. I think I think if he sort of focused on it for longer, he could have been back in his day, he could have been a world champion, I think. But
what is Kit is famously somebody who was really early on to what we would now kind of recognize as an ecological style. As someone who spends so much time thinking about jiu-jitsu, breaking it down in a very intellectual way, coaching it to others, what are your thoughts on ecological as a training methodology?
Overall, I think like what they're doing is really good. Certainly my disagreement is that I think, like, you know, if you want to like kind of how they describe it, you know, you might call this ecological anyway, and if you want to call it ecological, that's fine. I'm happy with that. But I think like my main issue is I believe explicit instruction is quite useful and important, which is just like basically, you know, teaching someone something and being able to tell someone how to do something, as opposed to like making sure that they learn it implicitly by setting up a game. I think you can use both. But otherwise, I think it's good, you know, like I do agree, if you can train something live, it's better than sort of like a static. If there's a way to come up with a scenario where you can have live resistance to learn something, I do think that's better than static. I think, you know, they do have a thing in eco about their, you know, there's no like ideal technique. I think that's sometimes a bit of a straw man. I think there are good things to do and there are good styles, and I feel like they sort of seem to be pushing towards that anyway in the games that they set up. So that there might not be like a perfect way to do something, but there's like good ways to approach certain situations. But I think overall you can just be, I think it's fine to just teach someone as well. So I still teach things. I've certainly, like, since that's become more popular, I use more games to like try to bring out certain skill sets and just let people explore things in a live scenario as well. So yeah, overall I think it's been great for jiu-jitsu, despite I'm not in full agreement with exactly how most people are implementing it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people do end up on kind of like the more hybrid take of it, you know, which does make sense. Like sometimes you do just need like, hey, can you show me exactly how I'm supposed to do this? Like I'm messing something up, and then like going from there and now setting up a game and playing with it and stuff. I feel like in my own training, that is kind of how I like it. Like sometimes I just need to see somebody do it. I maybe don't need to like sit there for 2 hours and have them like overly coach through it, but it's like, all right, let me see exactly this, and then I'll go try and like apply it in like a more live scenario. But for your classes and everything, the way you have stuff set up, are you doing anything different these days with the way you're training your students and stuff? Like what's a normal class at Lachlan's gym kind of look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like that's the hardest thing as a coach, I think, is like, how do you teach something that is relevant to everyone in the room? I think that's even a problem for a lot of the even if you're training eco, it's difficult because, you know, especially if you start exploring more individual positions, you know, like something like K-guard. Like not everyone in my gym plays K-guard, so if I'm teaching a class on K-guard, then I might be wasting a whole bunch of people's time who are never actually going to use this position. So there's that issue. I sort of, the way I've gotten around that to some degree is we have like the sort of, it's called like the flipped classroom model, but it's essentially like, if you, I let people, I'll show some things and let people work it, but I'll also allow people to, like, if you want to work on something else, if you've come into class with your own plan, you can work on that. I just sort of make sure everyone's fits with the class structure. It can't just be like, it's not like people walk in and they have an open mat on the side while I teach, because that's very distracting. So it's kind of like, if I'm showing something, everyone sort of stops, watches, but then when it comes time to practice, if you've got something you want to work on, I'm totally fine with people doing that. And I think that especially for the more advanced people and the people who it kind of rewards as well, the people who are actually doing a lot of extra study and they come in and they want to practice the thing they want to work on, which I think is a better use of their time. A lot of the if they've got something they've studied and they're wanting to work on that, it's probably a better use of their time to be actually implementing that than necessarily what I'm showing. So that's kind of available. I would say not everyone in the class actually sort of follows with that. Most people just, the vast majority do just sort of work on the theme that we're working on. But yeah, look, in terms of the actual structure, I'll usually sort of give my general thoughts on a position. I'll let people practice it a bit. Then I'll do some live training. I'll often ask for any feedback or questions people have. Then I might show something else, more live training or different adjustments. Often I'll start like a little more narrow with the live training and then go a bit more open at the end. So it might be, like we're trying to like just isolate this little battle at first, and now we're going to take that battle and bring it into like, your opponent can do everything, and sort of open it up a bit more. So that's generally how I approach it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. It kind of leads me to another thing I wanted to ask you. And, this might be a little bit self-serving, but we talked a little bit earlier about, Submeta, and like, I am genuinely watching the single leg X and X guard class right now, like how to pass. And for one, I just want to point out that I love the way Submeta is set up, like the user interface style, where it's like these short videos and I'm getting to track my progress bar as it goes. It feels like I'm really making progress. I'm like, wow, I'm 38% of the way through passing Reed's guard next time I'm in class. Like once I finish off this bar, it's, it's everybody's toast. But
you're gonna need more than 38%.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I gotta get out of here in a minute to go try and bump that up to at least 60% before class. But the thing I wanted to ask you about though is, because I feel like a lot of people dip their toes in instructionals, like at least at some point in their jiu-jitsu journey, they're kind of like, all right, I'm finally finding a little bit of a game that I like maybe it's like whatever, half guard or anything, passing single leg X. But so let me dive into some instructional, start watching some stuff. But I think it's very hard for people to kind of like watch instructionals and then actually apply it and then like kind of like hone in and start doing that, at least on like more of a hobbyist level. Obviously pro level people are like, they're super, honed in on that stuff. But I'm curious, like, if you have advice for people on like how to get the most out of watching instructionals. What's the best way to go about actually watching instructionals and kind of like making sure it becomes an actual part of your game and using it now in live roles, in competition? Do you have any advice, I guess, in that world?
Yeah, I think it should be like a iterative process. You should be, I think there's probably only one possibly good reason to like watch something like an instructional just straight, like watch it all at once. Like one possible good reason to that is just so you get an idea of the big picture, you see the whole thing, and then you can come back to it. But there's just no way you're going to take in so many details in one setting. So I think like I would just generally watch it until you have some understanding of something you can work on. Like as soon as you get to the point like, oh, I'm going to try that in class, I think you probably should stop there. And then you want to actually have that live feedback. And then you can see if there's any sticking points you have. Like if you learn something, you go and it works on everyone. Awesome. You're happy. Almost certainly there'll be someone who's going to have an answer to it. And that way you'll have some context for maybe that. Hopefully the instruction you're watching does actually talk about what to do when this move is blocked and how to deal with these particular counters. And then when if you experience those counters, you're going to have a lot better understanding of like why that's relevant, and you'll take in the information a lot better. So I think it's just an iterative process like that where you keep going back. And I think as you're more and more familiar with the topic, if you're wanting to like still get something out of it, that's what you're looking at, like live rolling footage starts to become better as well. So at first, like you just want to understand the concepts and the movements. But then later, as you're watching the live footage, you can sometimes see some subtle things that occur that might, like you can't talk about everything in instructional. I don't think that's actually a good way to make an instructional either, like where you cover every possible thing. Some things it's worth just like visualizing as you see someone rolling. And as you see they do a particular counter this way, you can see how that person reacts to it and deals with it. So that's how I would generally approach it. But I definitely think watching it once is probably not enough if it's a pretty complex topic.
Do you feel like there were any instructionals that particularly influenced you and your style? They weren't as popular when you were coming up, certainly.
Some were popular, like back like Ryan Hall's ones. I'd say he got me into leg locks, I guess. He had his 50-50 instructional. I think I bought that 3 weeks before ADCC trials, maybe. It probably would have been the one that Dave Hart. I think I actually fought Dave Hart in the final of those trials.
Did you heel hook him?
I actually got him in a heel hook, and at the time, like I got a heel hook, and I just for a moment was like, is he going to tap? And I sort of looked up, and then as I looked up, he just started to turn and he span out. So he escaped, and then I think he won by 2 points.
You were too nice, huh?
I don't know. I know I like caught it and I looked up. It's very hard to like remember properly, but because it was so long ago. But I remember like thinking like, because Dave was my coach, I caught the heel. I looked up just to see like, how's he reacting to this? Am I going to have to like put it on? And as I did that, he started to turn. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but that was I would have fought Marcelo then, so we could have had the match 15 years ago if I had got that. But yeah, I studied Ryan Hall's instructional for like a few weeks, and I watched it, and I just put myself in 50-50 every day, and that's basically like was pretty much my strategy back then. And then I forgot about, because I was focused on the gi, I forgot about leg locks for a while.
Gotcha. I want to get into who's number 130 here in a second, but right before we do that, because I do want to, help promote Submeta and everything for you. Do you have some current instructionals on Submeta that you're pretty stoked about? Like you any that kind of stand out to you right now where it's like, all right, these are the ones people should be watching if you want to learn some cool stuff?
At the moment, I got an advanced K-Guard series being released. So I sort of do the instructionals on like different experience levels, which I think is something that hasn't really been done elsewhere. So there's like an intermediate level K-Guard course, which is sort of, your fundamentals. Now it's time to learn K-Guard. This is like the main things you need to know. That one's actually free at the moment. And I'm releasing an advanced K-Guard series, which is kind of like a lot more in depth. Just goes into like the more finer details and more intricate movements that you have to do. So that's sort of being released over the next few weeks. So yeah, maybe that's something people want to check out.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody go check that out. Go to submeta.io. Go ahead and get that intermediate one running right now. Everybody should be watching that if it's free, test the waters a bit and then get ready for the advanced K-Guard one. But so moving into WNO30, now obviously this is a big event for us. We have coming up on October 24th. I think we're like 11 days out or so. And I kind of want to just get some of your thoughts overall and everything on it, Lachlan. Kind of first about the 8-man bracket. So we're going to have Declan Moody, Michael Sains, Felipe Costa, Pat Chigoli, Achilles Hosha, Dante Leon, Roberto Jimenez, and then this weekend there's actually like a qualifying bracket going down in Pittsburgh where they're taking 8 local grapplers in Pittsburgh, and whoever wins that is going to be the final spot in kind of this 8-man bracket. So just overall, I'm curious if you have any thoughts kind of on this 8-man bracket for who's number 130.
It would have been funny if we made Kit Dale do that bracket to get into this bracket.
Oh, man, that would have been a great idea.
That definitely should happen. Yeah, look, I think I'm excited to see. I always like seeing the smaller people go in the open weight brackets. So I'm excited to see what Dante Leon can do. He got bronze at ADCC, didn't he, this year?
You, Marcelo, and Dante are the last 3 guys under 88 to medal at the absolute.
Yeah. So look, he's always going to be a force to deal with. That said, I think Declan Moody's looking near unstoppable at the moment. At least from what I saw at CJI and the Euro trials, he's looking really good. So he's probably the person I pick. But there's some really good grapplers in that. Jimenez when he's on is really on. So he could certainly take that. Lots of big guys in there, some big Brazilians in there too, who seem to be doing pretty well. So, yeah. But overall, I think my pick for that would be Declan Moody.
I think that's a solid kind of front runner there. I feel like there's kind of like Declan, Roberto, maybe Dante, kind of in that.
Those are the top 3.
Yeah, that like potential favorites category. I do want to ask you one quick thing about Declan though, not to get too much sidetracked. Did you know Declan was a British guy all along? I just found this out recently. I had no idea.
I've probably heard it and forgotten it. But we'll claim he's Australian. He's definitely Australian. We'll claim him. All
right. That's good to hear. We've been kind of waiting to make sure it's cool to still call Declan Australian, but he's got the Lachlan approval on that. So,
yeah, but definitely one of the matches I think where maybe hoping hits or hope to see is like a Roberto versus Declan potentially. How do you think that match goes down? Because Roberto, like you said, it feels like when he's on, he has anybody's number, but Declan just such on fire right now. So it feels like that'd be a pretty sick match to hit.
Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting. I think probably in a match like that where Roberto could possibly take advantage is I think he might be a little bit quicker than Declan. Like I think he moves slightly faster. So, Declan's got a kind of he's not like jumping around too quickly, but he's just like got his weight and positioning in the right spot. But if Roberto can create an angle and look for a back take or something, that would be probably his best pathway to victory. But I think overall, if Declan can be overpower him on the feet and get on top, I think he's going to start to apply his pressure and start to pass from there and finish.
Of course. And then some of the super fights, I kind of sent them over to you and everything. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, but I'm just curious if you have anything that stood out to you with the super fights or anything that kind of gets you excited about this card. It's Sarah Galval versus Trinity Pun, Owen Jones versus Gavin Corby, and then Devontae Johnson versus Gutenberg Pajera. So any of those kind of stood out to you or anything like that?
I always like watching the smaller grapplers. So
yeah.
Owen Jones and Owen Jones and Gavin will be interesting. Look, Owen's been competing really well. So it's always interesting. The Corbet brothers have really shined. I haven't seen as much of Gavin, but are they twins?
No,
just pretty similar looking brothers. Not quite twins.
Real, there's like a year or two difference. Like they're real pretty close. Yeah.
On the subject of twins real quick, how crazy is it that Cade and Ty Rutolos are twins, but still two of the most identifiable dudes in jiu-jitsu, like even amongst each other. They're identical, but somehow it's super easy to tell Cade and super easy to tell Ty Ruotolo apart. I always think that's interesting.
Let's shave the head and we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. But the hair helps.
Yeah, no, look, I imagine Owen will probably pull guard, so that like I always like watching, I prefer watching.
I don't know. He says he's British D1 now. He says he's a British D1 wrestler.
That's probably the equivalent of an Australian D1 wrestler, which is like myself. So,
which is a guard puller.
Which is a lifelong guard puller.
I'm national wrestling champion, believe it or not. So.
Hell yeah.
Oh, let's go. Okay, so
I'm not even joking. That's true.
So you think Owen will come out and pull guard though, and how do you think that kind of plays out with Gavin kind of in a passing position, Owen probably pulling guard?
Look, I think just overall from like their accomplishments so far, it just seems like Owen's been able to push it a bit more in the higher level matches. I don't think Gavin's quite shown that he can achieve the same thing yet as his brother, DeAndre, but I guess we'll yet to see. That he's a bit of an unknown to me, so I'm not sure exactly what he's going to bring. I know Owen's got pretty dangerous from guard, great passing, good submissions. So, that's an exciting match to watch.
Definitely. Sorry, Lachlan, I don't mean to interrupt you there. Okay.
I was going to say that. Go for it. I was going to ask the other matches where Sarah Galval was fighting as well.
Yes, she's fighting Trinity Pun.
Yeah, I haven't studied that match too much, but obviously Sarah, given her second place on who's number one, you'd expect would have to be the heavy favorite in this match, I assume.
I'd say probably so.
And Devontae's actually he's got some really good passing, so I'm excited to see. I would actually like watching his matches. He's got great under the legs passing and north-south passing as well. So yeah.
I think Gutenberg's an interesting addition to this card just because I don't know of a lot of Gutenberg Nogi outside of South American trials in 2021/2. It would have been where he won, but then he wasn't able to actually go to the ADCC World Championship in 2022. So that's kind of I just think it's exciting whenever it's you almost get a guy and get to see it, particularly a gi guy who kind of dominates in the gi, but then it's we kind of missed out on it at the last second. Now it's okay, Gutenberg's kind of back, making a nod at Nogi. So now we get to see him against Devontae, a pretty established Nogi guy. So that's kind of what gets me excited about that one. But do you have something, Joe, you were going to ask? Or go ahead, Lachlan.
Yeah, just the talent pool in the gi, especially coming out of Brazil, is so high. So I think anyone that's doing well in that, you know they're a talented grappler, so they've got to, if they can make the transition, they'll be a force to reckon with.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask you, Lachlan, about who's number one rules. Who's number one going down? Pittsburgh, October 24th. I don't know if we've said that yet, but the way these matches play out is it's one continuous match, no breaks, no rounds. We are seeing more like CJI style events where they are putting in rounds, and it is like these 5 minutes, then you have to stop, you totally reset. What are your thoughts on one versus the other? Is there one you prefer more as a fan, one you prefer more as a coach / athlete? What are your thoughts on rounds versus no rounds?
I prefer continuous.
I was really hoping you were going to say that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I just like, sometimes you work a long time to earn a position and you want to be able to keep it. I think sometimes, like, at least, like, I'm just purely thinking incentive wise, but like, if there's a 5 minute round and someone takes your back, there's 2 minutes left in that round, you can think about just defensively and just try and hold on, because you get a chance then to reset. You don't have to like take a risk to get out. Whereas if it's if it's just, this is the whole match, someone's taking your back, then if I want to win this match, I have to actually not only get out, but do something good. So I'm gonna have to take some risks. It sort of encourages, I think actually it's usually, if you want more submissions, and then you want the person who's in a defensive position to be incentivized to have to get out. So that's my general thoughts on that.
Yeah, it makes sense to take it to a hobbyist level. Resets in the training room suck. The other day I was rolling with this guy and I pulled guard. He got on top. He's a tough guy, okay? And he was just smashing me from like, yeah. No. I would never admit it was Reed on this show. But and so he's smashing me he's in top half guard, and it's taking me forever to sweep him. I finally sweep him, but we go up against the wall and we go to reset and he starts standing again. I'm like, no way, bro. No way. I just spent 6 minutes of this round fighting on bottom to get on top. I finally get on top. I want top. Like, you got to lay down now. So I stand with you, I want that position that it took me so long to get to.
I always like doing the opposite, just as like a flex in the training room of being like, oh no, yeah, totally, just whatever, Do you want my back? Do you want my back now? Actually, yeah.
Well, I was tired, I'll admit it. Yeah. But Lachlan, I hear the kids are stirring and everything now, so I don't want to hold you for too long. It's almost 4:00 here and everything. But before we get out of here, is there any last stuff you wanted to say? Anything you want to plug or anything? Where can people find you? Where can they watch your stuff and all of that?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Lachlan Giles, or you can follow my YouTube channel, Absolute MMA St Kilda, or jump on Submeta, watch the free K-Guard course, or lots of different courses I have available on that too. So yeah.
I just want to say real quick, Lachlan, I got to pitch you on this, dude. We really want to come out to Australia and make the Lachlan Giles movie. We have so much great footage from over the years of you competing, especially at ADCC 2019. Some people haven't seen all this footage that we have from ADCC 2019, your incredible run there. So we really want to come out to Australia at some point and really tell the Lachlan Giles story. I just want to let you know that we really want to do that. So eventually, hopefully, we can make it happen. But just on ADCC 2019, incredible tournament, one of the best tournaments I've ever been to in my jiu-jitsu career. I've been to just about all of them. ADCC 2019 was unlike anything else almost. How often do you go back and kind of reminisce on that day and relive those feelings that you had? I'm just wondering, because it was, man, still sense it's one of the most impressive performances at ADCC, in history. So
coolest thing of all time.
Yeah, I think it's like I get to reminisce every now and then, because it often gets posted and I get tagged in it online. I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. There's
pretty sick day.
Oh look, that was a dream. Like, I think you just can't. It'll, of course, it's going to go down one of the best moments of my life. So, I had you can't really describe the feeling that occurred during that. It was, to me, it was kind of unexpected as well. I hadn't I'd lost in my weight division, getting older, you know, starting to think, you know, that you're kind of competing your whole life to try to, you know, well, obviously to try to win, but even medal at an event such as ADCC, and to do it in that fashion in the open weight against some of the best in the world was, yeah, it was insane.
We got to tell that story. We got to make sure that all these new generations, that everybody's hip to what happened there at ADCC 2019. So you ever want to do it, we got to make that happen. Tell the Lachlan Giles story.
Please come down. Yeah, that'd be great.
Hell yeah.
Please.
Well, awesome, Lachlan. We'll let you get out of here. You know, you might have to go show your kids some guard work, maybe though. I don't know.
Guard.
We gotta let you get out of there so you can do that. But you know, thanks so much for calling in and joining us. I know you had to get on early and stuff, so we appreciate that. Good luck in this match against Marcelo. We're definitely going to be watching. Everybody, make sure and go to Submeta. Start getting hip to all the best jiu-jitsu in the world right there. So thank you so much, Lachlan.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Lachlan.